I'm Eric Novak, and coming up on this review, I'm going to take a look at the all-new 2016 Mazda CX-9. The 2016 CX-9 has some noteworthy exterior changes to it. Number one, it's lighter. It's about 200 pounds lighter, which is definitely going to help with respect to fuel economy. They've also actually introduced a top-end premium, or what they call signature trim level to this CX-9, trying to move into the luxury side of things. And one of the enhancements in this new trim level are these really good-looking 20-inch tires. It also comes to 20 inches on the GT trim, but lower ends you'll get 18 inches, which still are nice, but these are quite special. They've introduced a new paint color with the 2016 version. They call this one Machine Gray, and while they're hyping up quite a bit, which is somewhat unusual for a new design to point on a color, this one really is quite nice, and I'll give them that. It looks really special, especially in the right kind of light. Now, from a functionality standpoint, and let's face it, this is a functional vehicle. It's made for families. One of the things they did in the redesign is, while they shortened the overall length of the vehicle by 1.2 inches, they extended the wheelbase by 2.2 inches, with the obvious added benefit being additional legroom in the second row and also easier access to the third row. So what does it mean when we talk about improved accessibility to the third row and increased legroom into the second row? Well, let's look at how we get into the third row to begin with. It's a relatively simple mechanism. There's a lever here on the shoulder. You pull it out, you slide it forward, and you basically walk right into the third row. Pushing it back again to slide it back, and a bit of adjustments here. I don't find it's as good as, say, some of the others out there. I know Honda, Acura, and even Infiniti have a device that makes it really easy, but again, it's not bad. Now, what about the second row legroom? Well, let's take a look inside. If you step inside here, you will see that there's basically about 39.5 inches of second row legroom here, and 38.5 inches of headroom. It gets less in the third row. You're only looking at about 27.5 inches of legroom, so it's really for kids, but it's actually pretty good if you're an adult sitting here in the second row. Where I think things have gotten really interesting with this 2016 CX-9 is under the hood. They've gotten rid of the former V6 that powered this vehicle, and now with the next generation, they put in their first Skyactiv Turbo. It's a 2.5 liter, what they call a direct pressure turbo engine. It offers you 227 horsepower, but an impressive 310 pound-feet of torque. Now, I'm not an engine designer, so don't ask me to give you the technical explanation, but basically one of the things we love with torque is that feeling of heft, of momentum, and where this engine removes any of the sort of doubt that may come from putting a four-cylinder in here is they've designed it in such a way that you get a lot of that torque at lower RPMs. So when you're just starting up, when you want to feel that significance that makes you think you have a more powerful engine than you do, I really like how this drives and feels, and it certainly is a big improvement under the hood of the 2016 CX-9. So there were a lot of changes to the outside and under the hood of the 2016 CX-9, but I think where a lot of the big changes took place are on the interior, especially when you take a look at this new signature trim level, which is the one I've had to drive this week. Pretty much everything is in here. You've got nice silver accents, the Napa leather, which is certainly high grade quality and comfortable, new color tones. You look here in the center vertically stacked center console, some familiar aspects to it. You've got your central commander control knob, this rotary knob here, which through a right-hand rotation, you can control audio and navigational features. It moves up to the transmission. The HVAC controls, there's a tactile feel to them. That is good. It's something we all like. And then you move up to the 8-inch touchscreen down from the commander control knob, and you can have integration between the two. One thing I do really like some of what they've added to is their active heads-up display. Now, Mazda has been doing this since their Mazda 3 launch, but they used to have sort of a flip-up panel where the illumination went onto. In the CX-9, they have put it back onto the glass. It's but it's still kept 1 to 4 degrees below your line of sight to not be too intrusive, and it's projected at about an 8.5 feet distance, so it's looking on and beyond ahead of you. Now, heads-up displays have always typically just been speed and basic information, but on this one, it's getting more complex. They have a warning if you have someone in your blind spot popping up on the display. Now, I know passenger side view mirrors have that all the time, and that's fine, but this way you're keeping your eyes moving forward or keeping them forward all the time, and you have that indication so you don't even have to look beside you whether someone's in your blind spot. It's quieter in here. Because of the weight reductions in designing this new model, they were able to add about 50 pounds of sound dampening material, which does make the ambient sound around quite isolated. You do feel quiet in here. That is, except for the fact that given that this is a 7-seater, of course, when there's family in the back, and there's really little sound dampening that happens in that regard. Although one day I tell you, there had better become some automaker who puts up a privacy barrier between mom, dad, or the parents and the kids in the back, because maybe that's how it would be a more restful long drive. But overall, I really like the new interior of the Mazda CX-9. I certainly do enjoy the driving experience here in the 2016 CX-9. The 2.5-liter Skyactiv engine, again, with its ability to give me torque in low RPMs, has been great for acceleration. By the way, as a 4-cylinder engine, people might say, well, what's it like for towing? It still is rated at 3,500 pounds as a towing capacity, so that shouldn't be a problem for campers or trailers or things such as that. The other thing I kind of like that's interesting that Mazda has put some effort into, especially in the signature trim, their new Bose sound system. It's a 12-speaker system, and it is one that is actually, when it was engineered by Bose and by Mazda, they had digital compressed audio formats in mind, and that's a big deal since most of the time nowadays the music we have is compressed. That's not great for sound, but if you build a system that accommodates that for your MP3s, your iPods, even your compact discs, you'll get a better, richer sound. The other thing that I found that was quite interesting, and I kind of laughed a little bit at it, is how Mazda says they are clearly designing the CX-9 for a North American audience, and with that they've tuned the sound system for North American musical tastes. So basically what it means is if you like your rock and roll music or your hip hop or your things of that sort, well, then this is the type of system that has been designed for you. You know, it's really not okay anymore just to have a good entrant into the highly competitive crossover category. You really have to be great because everybody is trying to raise the bar, and in the case of this second generation 2016 Mazda CX-9, they've done an admirable job at just that. This new design is gorgeous on the outside. I really think it's one of my favorites that I've seen in quite some time, and with the addition of the signature interior trim, they've really gone back to a place that Mazda hasn't in quite some time back when they had the 929 and they tried to position themselves as luxury in any way. This is a gorgeous vehicle inside and out. In fact, one of the branding marketing slogans they have for this car is that they say it's family friendly, yet also good for a weekend retreat for the adults, and I don't disagree with that one bit. I think if you're in the market for something like a Honda Pilot, an MDX, an Infiniti QX60, maybe even an upper end trim of a Santa Fe XL, I really think you owe it to yourself to give this vehicle a try as well. You might not be disappointed. In fact, you might even be quite a bit surprised. But that's it for me, because speaking of family friendly, I've got some kids to go pick up because they're ready and calling for me. So until next time, for EnviroDad.com, I'm Eric Novak. Thanks very much for watching. See ya. Gotta go. If you like this review, we've got more of them, both written and video, at www.envirodad.com. There's also a Facebook page for you to like, and you know what? We're even doing Twitter as well.